Hi, welcome to Jewish Action, the podcast. My name is Rabbi Gil Student. I'm the Director of Jewish Media Publications and Editorial Communications at the Orthodox Union, and we're here today to talk about the spring 2026 issue of Jewish Action. The subject is Torah in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. It's a very special conversation we're going to have today. Our guest is Rabbi Dr. Josh Joseph. Rabbi Joseph is the Executive Vice President of the Orthodox Union and the Chief Operating Officer. He's a senior professional leader responsible for all aspects of OU programs and operations. He joined the OU team from Yeshiva University, where he served in a variety of roles over 16 years, ultimately rising to Senior Vice President. It's a very fascinating conversation. I'm very grateful that Rabbi Joseph joined us. I just want to remind people that in order to get this podcast on a regular basis, please subscribe to the podcast and please review it. Give it a 5 stars because it's such a great podcast. Thank you very much. I want to let people know that OU Press recently published a very exciting book, Agadot Harav, Volume 2. Volume 1 is still in the works. This is Volume 2. It's the Rav Soloveitchik's Shiurim, which were originally given in Yiddish on the Agadata of Maseches Brachos. So it's on Gemara, but each chapter is really just a self-contained essay on Jewish thought that anyone can read, and it's very accessible. It is an amazing book. You can get it on oupress.org. So we're going to have this conversation. We're going to talk a little bit about Torah, a little bit about AI, a little bit about how you become a professional in this new age of AI, and some of our hopes and fears about the upcoming years as technology changes so much. So thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the conversation that I have with Rabbi Dr. Josh Joseph. Rabbi Dr. Josh Joseph, I can call you Josh, right?
Please call me Josh.
Thank you for joining us on Jewish Action, the podcast.
Thrilled to be here.
My name is Rabbi Gil Student. We're here to talk about Jewish Action, the spring 2026 issue. The cover story is Torah in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. A lot of great articles in here, both the cover story and the other stories. The cover story itself talks about kind of the big topic that everyone is talking about today, which is AI. It's changing the world. One of the articles is about how it's like the printing press of our generation, and it might very well be just this dynamic, era-changing technology that eventually is going to change everything.
Absolute game changer for everything that we do and think about, and it gives us an opportunity to think about the present and the future together.
So there's been a lot of course, talk about this. We're not the first ones to talk about AI. Believe it or not, Jewish Action is not the first one to cover this story. There have been a lot of op-eds and people talking about how the economy is going to collapse and jobs are going to be nowhere. People are going to be impoverished. The AI is going to take over the world. Nuclear catastrophe is going to be end of the human race. All sorts of catastrophes, pessimism. It's traumatizing to people. I mean, is this a healthy way to talk about this kind of technology?
You know, I'm reminded of the famous Jewish telegram. Start worrying. Stop. Details to follow.
Right.
Like, we'll find something to worry about. That doesn't mean we shouldn't be worried. That doesn't mean there aren't concerns here. There have been those who've been writing about worrying about AI for a number of years. And if you look back, science fiction, people have been thinking about this for a long, long time and what could be and what the potential risks are. And we should be cognizant of those, and we should be thinking about them, and we should be working to mitigate them. At the same time, we should be looking at the opportunity. You know, any marketing major in college, and now a strategy major, you can major in strategy, they think about a SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis. Are you familiar with SWOT analysis?
I've done some of those.
You've done that, right?
Yeah.
So SWOT analysis is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Do you know what the original SWOT analysis, what it was called originally?
No, what?
Well, originally the tool was developed for thinking about strategy, which Porter talks about. Where does strategy begin and end? With competition. Who is your competition? And so therefore the first thing you think about is, what are the threats? But TOE's analysis, which would be threats, opportunities, weaknesses, and strengths, just doesn't have the same ring as SWOT. So they flipped it around. But when you think about the threats, can we also think about what are the opportunities here that we have in front of us? Yes, there are threats. Yes, people are concerned about jobs. And now, debates about whether did AI enter the workplace? Is it taking jobs away? And so now there's a sort of this compromise position already. Well, it's not taking jobs away, but it's not allowing for growth at the entry level
I hear that.
for people to come in. And it's shifting the balance of, well, how many more senior people? You need people with different trainings and different abilities, and how much more work now is expected of us. So it's shifted the workplace, but it's also shifted some other things, which we'll talk about a little bit. I wrote about a little bit in my piece. It's shifted other things that maybe we're allowing it to encroach upon and take over, where we still have a say about where it should go.
See, you raised something interesting, because the way I was trained was you do the grunt work when you're young and you're new, and that's how you learn all the ins and outs.
Yeah.
And then you move on to bigger and better things. The grunt work is no longer available to be done. It's now being automated, being done by AI. So the question is, what do we give to train people so they understand the universe in which they're working in? And I don't know, when I take a step back, I think that's a transitional problem. It's how do we train the next generation? And we're going to figure that out. We don't know, the old way of training doesn't work anymore. There will be a new way of training. It can't be that there's only one way to train people. We just have to be a little creative and try things. And in a few years, we'll figure that part out. It's not a disaster that nobody will ever know how to do anything once we retire. Let's think about, and every podcast I have to say something controversial.
Okay.
So when they talk about AI, how it's taking away the ability to communicate. So I'll expand on that a little bit, because the way we are taught to think strategically and is by writing things down, writing it out, and that forces you to think it out from beginning to, hopefully, if you do it well. And now that AI is writing so much for people, how's the next generation going to learn how to think, how to communicate if they're not writing? And I take a step back and I say, well, maybe the old way of teaching people how to think and how to communicate, it isn't going to work anymore. But there's got to be another way to teach people. Let's think outside the box and experiment and find new ways to teach people, train people how to think that isn't writing.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's the end of thought.
Well, and also, I want to, if I could, just push back on one thing.
Please.
You keep talking about the next generation. This is a technology that's not just for the next generation. These are trainings that are not just for the next generation. It's for us. I get daily lists of articles from Harvard and Stanford. All of them are about AI and what we can learn, even an old guy like me, at this point, and what kinds of things we need to be trained on now. Right. So those kinds of things apply to all of us. I don't want people listening to all of a sudden say, oh, it's for the next generation. I don't got to worry about that. Maybe I have to talk to my kids about it. All of us have that opportunity. And here's the example. Okay. I was talking, happens to be with a young person. And I said, how did you learn how to study for exams? Now, I was not necessarily the poster child at the beginning of my collegiate career for how to study for an exam. But I figured out that I needed to take notes. Like you said, I needed to write. Okay, so I took notes on all my notes that I took from class and all my readings, and I came up with 12 pages, and then I took notes on those, and I got them down to 4 pages, and then I took notes on that, and I got down to a page or two, and some people will turn that into note cards or whatever, what have you. So I shared this with somebody, and then they went and said, oh, good, I took the first 3 steps that you did, and I condensed them all into one. I had AI do it all for me and condense it into 1 page. And I said, well, then you missed out on all the learning. So you have to do the reading, right? We learn you have to do chazara. It's the actual going over it. Maybe it's not writing it, but it's the chazaring over, right? It's reviewing it. It's going over it. That's part of it. So maybe the answer to you is, I don't know the answer to you. I'm not an educator in that sense. But maybe the answer is, okay, you don't have to write it down, but you still have to chazar it over. You still have to go over it 3 and 4 and 5 times in order to internalize the material and in order to make it your own. And I think that there are ways for us to engage with the material, to gain the knowledge and to grow, even if it's not writing down.
You actually, it made me think of something. How did Chazal learn? It was not by writing down.
Nope.
They weren't allowed to write it down.
That's right.
It was all memorizing
Yep.
and repetition and talking it over. And there are whole methods of how to do that, and once we started writing things down, we lost that. Maybe now is the time we go back to the original method of how we learn, without writing it down, without the need, but we internalize it in other ways.
Beautiful. Chadesh Yemenu Kekedem.
Yeah, very much.
Right? It's new, but we're going back to the ways of old. Fascinating. I think that there are ways for us to not become, I don't know what the correct term is, dumb, right? But we have to make the decision that we don't want to be, right? Like I was talking about before, we can't just say like, okay, well, I'm going to give it all to AI. I'm going to give it all to Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini. I'm going to let them do the thinking. No, then you've made the decision that you don't want to know the information. You've given it over. You've given up your agency, as it were, to somebody else or something else in order to think for you. And so the training might not be how to write and how to think. It's how to choose to think, how to choose to be able to retain what decisions you can.
There was a turning point in the corporate world when PowerPoint became widely available.
Yeah.
Suddenly, every presentation became beautiful.
Yeah.
And what it didn't mean you didn't have to work at a presentation. It meant the bar was higher.
Right.
And the starting point, if you just did a bare bones, beautiful presentation, it was not good enough.
Yeah.
And that's probably what's going to happen with writing. If you just give some AI-produced writing, that's going to be the bare minimum. No grammatical errors, no spelling mistakes, and some sort of beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be. That's going to be the floor.
Yeah.
But you're still going to have to do much better, and through editing and through thinking and through choosing.
Yeah.
You're going to have to a good writing and good thinking is just going to be that much higher.
Yeah. Well, in the last number of months, the number of documents or comments that I've received in emails that are clear work slop,
Yeah.
right? Somebody pointed out to me, like, if you see an M dash, right, which is those longer, elongated dashes, you probably got ChatGPT'd, right? And somebody was sending that to you. And it's just like, it looks like it should make sense and it's thoughtful and you have the bolds and everything like that, but I can't quite understand what it's trying to say to me, right? So it's not as clean and beautiful as somebody who was sending it to me might think. It's just not rich. It just doesn't have the content. It just doesn't have the personality of the person who is sharing it with me.
It's like paper thin. It has a lot of good words, but they don't actually have depth to it.
Yeah.
I've actually changed the way I write because of AI. I love the M dash. I have 25 years of writing history proving that I love the M dash.
Yeah.
I don't use it anymore because I don't want people to think I'm writing through AI.
I'm the same way. And all my papers that I used to write papers in graduate school, college, whatever it was, like I had the headings and I had the bolds and my professors all appreciated it, but now that's like the basic style. So you can't just write that way anymore. You need to do something different.
You need to take it to the next level.
That's right.
Meaning the bare minimum now is using AI, and we need to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
So I did an experiment. I posted to social media the following question: how many AIs does it take to change a light bulb? And I got people to give answers.
Oh, yeah.
So one interesting thing though is that everybody who thinks they're smart put it into AI, their favorite AI. AI cannot do humor.
No,
it cannot. I gave the question to ChatGPT and said, "Give it to me in the voice of Jerry
No
Seinfeld."
comedians. It's your jobs are safe. Okay.
For now.
Yeah.
I said, "Give it to me in the voice of Bill Cosby." Not funny. It just doesn't hop. But people are still funny. So I don't know if any of the answers I'm going to give you right now. I'm going to give you the answers that had the most likes on them, and the one that had, I think, the most likes and the one that I personally prefer is it only takes one AI. But it's going to take you 10 prompts, and it's still not going to get it right, which is something that I think Dr. Moshe Capel highlights in his article here.
Yeah.
Dr. Moshe Capel, as you know, is one of the leading...
He's an expert.
Leading Jewish experts on AI, or experts on Jewish AI.
I just spoke to an AI expert who said anybody who tells you that they're an expert on AI is not an expert, because there's no expertise, because every day it's changing and they have to keep learning. So he's curious about AI, and he's experienced with AI. We can't according to that, you can't call him an expert just yet.
Okay, maybe AI is the only expert on AI.
Yeah, there you go.
So he talks about how he used AI to write an article. And he put it in once, and it came out. It wasn't really his voice, and so he makes some more adjustments and put it back in. Still wasn't it, and ended up doing that time and again. And it took him more time to get an article that still wasn't as good as if he would have written it himself.
Yeah.
And I know that in Excel, like if I want to build a macro for something, all right. So I could spend 24 hours building a macro because I'm so excited. And the truth is, it would have taken me 2 hours to do what I needed to do. And sometimes technology is not a help.
Right.
And we just use it because it's cool.
Yeah.
So
that's one of the questions: is AI a tool or a toy? If it's a toy, okay, I'm having fun. I'll play with it and I'll learn it and I'll learn how to. It'll be a game, right? If it's a tool, what's it a tool for? Is it a tool because I don't like writing, and so it's going to have it write for me? Well, maybe I shouldn't be in a profession that requires me to write. Okay. Is it a tool because I think it's going to make my life easier? Well, then, is it? According to Moshe Kapal, no, it's not making his life easier. It's making it different. That might make it interesting, but it's not making his life easier. So when we think about AI, just like when you talked about the printing press, what was the printing press a tool for? Greater dissemination of knowledge, right? So that more people could have access to it, right? Greater learning opportunities. Oh, can AI be a tool for greater learning opportunities? That's interesting. How? How can it do so? Well, maybe it can take great works and help to translate them and give you an access point. But just to write a summary of Brothers Karamazov that is in one page, is that really going to be a literature experience, or you'll get a nice summary? So, the question is, what's it a tool for? If it gives you a summary of Brothers Karamazov, great, you can get that probably online without AI. Is it going to give you the experience of reading Dostoevsky? No, probably not. So what is it a tool for? What are you trying to accomplish with the AI?
That's the question everybody needs to ask, right? We need to use AI with intentionality so that it is a tool and not a distraction or a toy. Yeah. What are you trying to do? So, for example, sometimes I have writer's block. I write a lot, and sometimes I just there's this movie from a long time ago, Finding Forrester.
Sure.
It was about this high school kid who
Sean Connery.
Sean Connery was the veteran writer, and he was training this young Bronx high school kid, and what he did was he gave him one of his essays and said, start with this, and then take it in your own direction.
Right.
And that got the kid in trouble, and that was the whole plot of the movie.
Yeah.
And sometimes I use AI for that, meaning I give it a general idea. I say, get me started.
Yeah.
I don't like the direction it takes me in, but it gets the juices flowing and is very good for that.
Yeah.
There are all sorts of different uses as long as you're thoughtful about how you're using it, and it's not a crutch. And I think that's what you're saying, is we should be thoughtful about it.
And even if it's a crutch, so understand you're using it as a crutch. But like if you have, thank God, the ability to walk or run without crutches, so understand what you're doing to yourself. You're making yourself into somebody who is ill, right? Who has a disability, who can't, when you actually can do it. So just understand that you're doing that and why you're doing that. And if you think you're making your life easier that way, well, you're not going to be able to run that marathon or whatever it is with a crutch. Oh, okay. So let me understand better what I could use it for. Can it help me to train me in order to, access greater things that I may not be currently able to access? So the idea of conmigo, right? The Khan Academy, and what they've tried to shift into conmigo is, don't write the paper for me. Teach me how to write a better paper. Don't just download the information into my brain, but help me to understand why this can resonate for me so that I can learn it better. Then it's a tool for your growth and your education, as opposed to just summarize it so I can get away with a test. Now, where that we might be able to help is maybe the tests and papers mechanism for grading education. Maybe that needs to shift. Maybe we need to move away from those, methodologies for testing and move into other kinds of approaches to see if somebody has learned something. That might also be able to help move the needle, and then using the tool and the sort of the reverse engineering of, how are we doing education? Maybe education needs to be a little bit different than how we've done it up until now. That's worth thought. And that might be something that AI can help us figure out.
So I get delivered or I buy multiple Sfarim a week. So I have very little time to read non-Torah related books.
I have a huge pile that every once in a while I'm like, okay, I just got to move that into the library because, I got to start the new pile of just books that I've read, the introductions of, or, and these are ones that I want to read, right?
I live around the corner from Mizrahi Bookstore, which is the largest secondhand Jewish bookstore in the world. But one secular book I did make a point of reading, and I recommend to everybody, is the Khan, I forget his first name, his book on how he created Conmigo, how ChatGPT reached out to him.
Yellow and white cover. Yes, I have it on. I've read a bunch of pages. It's sitting on my table. Yeah, my night table.
Fantastic thoughts on how to use AI responsibly and productively. But one of the things we have in this issue of Jewish Action is we reached out to educators and asked, how are you using AI?
Yeah.
And some of them are saying, I'm against using AI. But we have little quotes, very short stories from dozens of educators on how they're using AI and how they're transforming their classroom or refusing to transform their classroom. Really very thoughtful and interesting, and some very innovative ways, which is your point. We might have to change how we test, how we assign writing assignments, and how we think about the best way to educate people. I'm not a believer in newfangled methods, particularly when it comes to Torah. But you can't ignore reality either. So there needs to be a balance with our inherent conservatism of the Orthodox community. We should be taking baby steps and seeing what do we need to change in order to reach, the next generation.
Yeah.
So there's one of the articles in here, which I wrote, was with IVDU, which is an OU network of schools, special ed schools.
Yeah.
Fantastic organization.
Part of the Yachad universe.
Part of Yachad. Amazing work that they did. So before the school year started, I gave a training to the faculty and the staff on how they can use AI in their work.
Yeah.
And we had a competition, like 45 minutes or so, where different teams had to use AI in teaching. And there were all sorts of rules and a whole rubric on how they were judged. And then there's a competition, different levels. Eventually, we reached the final. It was between the science teachers and the Rebbeim.
Love it.
And there was a vote, and the Rebbeim won.
Wow.
They had this whole way of illustrating a Mishnayos and Makos. Plus, they also used some video, AI-generated video. It was incredible.
Imagine every time you're in a Gemara Menachos, and there's different Menachos and how they're brought and when they're brought and all that stuff. You say, okay, just give me a summary, or draw me a picture of what they look like.
Yeah.
Right. What the difference, how they looked. Right. Wouldn't that be great for education? That's what it looks like. I'm looking. So instead of looking at lines of text, I'm looking at lines of text and then an image or a video of how a mincha was brought or whatever it was. Could be, right? Just the dynamism of education comes alive in that way.
And there are people doing that right now on social media, really creative people. They learn one daf a day, in Daf Yomi, and then they spend time thinking about it and create incredible images that really bring it to life. It's great, and they're doing it. They're not experts. That's the power that AI is giving them, that they can make something that's so abstract and foreign to a modern mind. Menachos is the meal offerings, the flour offerings that we bring in the Beis HaMikdash, and they're showing us all these little distinctions visually. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Fantastic.
It's so exciting to me to be able to witness that.
There, you know what the tool is, and you know what to use it for, right? And how to, and that could be a great opportunity of AI.
So in the article that we have here, I touch base with Miss Chavi Khan,
Sure.
principal of one of the IVDA schools,
Mm-hmm.
and asked her, let's follow up. I did this training. Did everybody walk out and forget everything? And the responses, she gives some great examples of how it transformed them. And some teachers, look, everybody's human. Everybody has certain strengths and certain weaknesses, and teachers are using AI to help them in their weak spots to make them even better teachers.
Yeah.
And they're able to reach, especially with special ed, but it's really any kind of education. You want to reach every child, and different children have different strengths as well. Some people are better at decoding. Some people are better at understanding the material. And the AI gives the teachers the ability to reach every child in the classroom. I don't want to exaggerate that, it's suddenly, this is the Mashiach of the classroom. I don't think that's the case, but it's a superpower. It gives teachers superpowers.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing. Every employee, even your best employees, right? They're only good at 63% or 72% or 85% of the tasks in front of them or the jobs that they need to do, right?
I like a precise statistic.
Yeah, sorry.
Scientific.
We'll ask AI. So, but what do you do with the other 15% or 28% or 6% that they're not good at, right? So imagine they, instead of having to hire an extra person around them or just deal with, them not being successful, you help them with an AI figure out how to maximize their strengths. And in the places where they have less strengths, use an AI that'll fill up those gaps. It's Sir Dr. Ken Robinson in his incredible work called The Element, which I think is a must read, talks about how we spend so much time focusing on our weaknesses and our negatives and trying to make those better rather than doubling down on the areas we have expertise, we have talent, we have passion, places that we really want to be spending our time. Imagine AI could actually help fill in the gaps so that you don't have to be perfect at everything. You don't have to do well at everything. You have the things that you do well, and then you have the AI that helps you as your assistant to fill in some of those things.
I was talking to an AI expert at the OU. We're innovative.
Yeah.
And we have a pilot program going on, and I'm a part of the pilot program that's got an enterprise license for Copilot, and I've been experimenting for a month or two. And we brought in an expert, so I sat down with him today for 15 minutes, half an hour, just to tell him what I've been doing.
Are we allowed to say his name? Josh
Schechter.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. He's
Great.
amazing.
Yeah.
And he showed me how some things that people want to do here, AI cannot do. So what he sat down with someone, and what he did with her was he had AI create a Python script and said, now just run this in Python, and Python will do it. Now, I don't know how to write a Python script. That's Python came after I graduated college, so I don't know any of these newfangled computer programs, but I don't have to know it.
Right.
All I have to know is how to tell AI to build for me.
Mm-hmm.
And how to run it, and it can automate incredible amount of things, and turn things, let's say, from an Excel spreadsheet into a Word document, and think it's very powerful to give us skills that we don't necessarily have ourselves.
I think you touched on a point, on a word anyway, powerful. Why is AI so scary? It's a powerful tool, right? It's something that can, as you said in the introduction, really change the way we think about work and about life. And so anything with that much power brings a little, it makes you scared a little bit about what if it takes more power, or somehow we give it more power. And I think that finding ways where we can get comfortable with it while still remembering not to give ourselves to it, finding that balance is going to be key to no matter what ends up happening with AI for humanity, but also maybe for the opportunity for humanity to continue to grow and think and do more and do it better. And the example you gave, you don't need to call up a coder and figure out what the right thing is. You can do it yourself. It makes you more efficient, more capable, more self-sufficient. And so what's the consequence of that when you become more efficient and more self-sufficient?
Well, you become more confident, and you also become more capable and able to do more things and more efficient. But also, you're able to look for new things to do and branch out and do even more.
Well, so then does your boss expect more from you at that point?
Of course.
Okay. And or do I need really to be in a company with other people? I can do this all by myself. I don't need to hire a coder. I can do it by myself. And so one of the potential consequences is a greater, which, Robert Putnam pointed this out many, many years ago, right? The late 90s, I think, Bowling Alone came out, that how we become more and more uh, individualized and less involved in a societal frame, in a communication frame, in a relationship frame. So maybe we have to think about how that can be a risk to us as well, right? The more you become self-sufficient, right? So not only are you doing things more efficiently, but you're less interactive and you're less relating to other people. And that's one of the things, that scared me about the chart that I shared about, the generative AI use cases in 2025 and, um, people using it for therapy became, a top use case. I'm not judging it. I think if it's useful and it's helpful, that's fantastic. But is that one of the areas we really need AI to step into? Um, if we're using it as such, apparently we feel that it is. But why are we already going to those kinds of really human interaction, interpersonal, interrelationships, and bringing AI into that when we haven't thought about all those consequences just yet?
There's that, and there's also the isolation, like you said,
Yeah.
and that's why I tell everybody, especially middle-aged men, make sure you go to minyan. Not just because it's a mitzvah and tefillah is very important. I don't want to minimize that, but isolation, it resolves some of the isolation. And talk to people, not during davening, but talk to people. Go to a base medrash at night, learn, but also talk to people. It's important to be around people. There's an epidemic right now of loneliness among middle-aged men.
There's an epidemic of loneliness in the United States of America,
Right.
right? It's not just for that age group; it's across the board, across the ages.
And that's what community is so important. I'll tell you a story. When my previous job in the corporate world, so the people I worked with, I worked in a team of 4 people. We were very tight, and they were just amazed how many weddings I went to. And so I said to one of the guys, I said, you have to understand, in my community, the people get married younger and invite more people than in your community. And he said, Gil, nobody here has a community except for you. I don't have a community. He doesn't have a community. Gil, you're the only one with a community. And there are communities. I mean, it's not 100% correct. There are communities other than the Orthodox Jewish community, but community is very important, and that's shul, and that's yomim tovim, and that's having people over for meals, and that's doing chesed, and going to delivering meals, and delivering food, and getting involved in the community. That's a lifesaver. I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but it helps people emotionally just do better. Just having a support group and being part of a support group and just getting out there. So I encourage everybody to go to minyan, A, because minyan is important, and B, just to be around other people. Everybody knows your name. Shul should be the place where everybody knows your name. You could quote me on that.
I will. Thank you, Norm. Yeah, and so that's, thinking long term. We don't do a great job as a community, sometimes in organizations. We don't do a great job of long-term thinking and long-term planning. And, um, the more we give up our own thinking to AI, right? Is that going to free us up to do the strategic thinking about our lives and about our communities and about where things are, and look comprehensively at what manifestations are? Could we, do an analysis? I'm like, what are the potential downsides? Maybe AI can help us. What are the potential downsides of, turning things over to AI? What will that mean for community? So I'm not suggesting a ban on AI. I'm not.
There are other people doing it. You don't have to worry about it.
But maybe there's something to what they're saying, that we should go cautiously, right? And we should think cautiously, right? But there have been all kinds of asifas against technology in the past. But as it turns out now, there's all these countries that are banning social media for teens 16 and under. Oh, yeah, because it affects brain development. Somebody once shared with me that as Orthodox Judaism, sometimes we don't have an answer because it's too soon. We don't yet know how to respond to it. Okay, and so that might be the case here with AI as well. Here we are. We wrote it. We have a whole magazine, and we're not even the first ones, right? And there's articles that come out every day. But maybe the biggest takeaway, what we could say to the listeners of the podcast is, if there's one thing you walk away with, it's think first, right? Think before. Yes, okay, use AI. Yes, okay, there's uses for it. Think before you do it. Right? He said, do it deliberately. Do it with intentionality. Do it with having some trepidation for what the consequences might be, even when there's a great opportunity for it. And understand what the opportunity is that you're taking. What's the purpose? What are you trying to accomplish with it? Is it toy? Is it tool? Is it a tool for some good? Okay, even then, what are the potential consequences that you don't see?
So I don't know about you, I can't speak for you, but I am inherently a lazy person. And in order to get anywhere in life, I've had to develop habits to force me out of that laziness. Whether it's I always take a notebook and take notes, or various.
Yeah.
Everybody's different. Everybody has their own techniques. And they might not even realize what they've done. It's just over time they've learned how to do that. And we need to learn habits on how to use AI that prevent us from being incautious users. And everybody's going to do this at some point. They're just going to take something out of AI. They're going to read it and say, okay, good enough.
Yeah.
And they'll be embarrassed.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll recognize they'll be embarrassed. And then going forward, they will develop the reflexes of check every word. Does it make sense? Is this word necessary?
Right.
And does it actually say what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And these are habits that we need to start developing. It's a new world, new tools. We need to develop new habits.
One of the things that people are using AI for is to ask halacha, paskin, right? And one of the things, we now have our new Torah AI app, Orbit, where it's a tool. We understand it's a tool. And what's the tool is to get more people access to Torah, to learning. When you ask it a question, even a halachic question, at the end, at the bottom, it says, but please make sure to ask, I don't know the exact language, make sure to ask your local Orthodox rabbi, right? And that does two things. One, it's a reminder this isn't a bottom line psak that you can go forward with. And two is it re-engages that human connection, right? To say, go talk to us, go talk to someone, go have a connection with a rabbi, with a rebbe, a selech harav, right? Not a selech harav, make the AI your rabbi, but go have that relationship, right? And I think that it's so important. It reminds us, even in putting out this incredible app, which has a lot of potential for growth in Torah, that even within that potential growth, don't lose that personal connection. Don't forget why you're here, right? To grow as part. A Jew is not just in relationship to God, but also in relationship ben adam lechavero.
Exactly. And if I could speak a moment about the chatbot that we created in Orbit, because I was very involved with that, and I wrote that disclaimer.
But it wasn't even original. Like, that wasn't originally part of the app. It was just part of the pushback, right?
Correct. The goal of the app is to encourage people who are not learning to learn some Torah, and people who are learning Torah to learn more. And the goal of the chatbot is to direct people to shiurim, to classes, so they'll learn more Torah.
Yeah.
You have a question? Well, we'll discuss the question, bring in some sources, and say, here's what you can listen to or you can watch that will give you more Torah from a trusted source, from a rabbi, from an educator. And so the goal of the chatbot is to push people to learn more Torah, and we measure success by the hours and the minutes people are learning on the app. But a chatbot is what people want. And we're trying to reach people where they are, and we try to create the best chatbot that we can, given the current technology. We have it trained. I don't know if "trained" is the right word, on 140,000 shiurim, and plus thousands of other primary sources in Mishnah Berurah, Aruch HaShulchan, and Pnei Halacha that we bring in to give people the best answer that we can. But we have programmed at the end to explain to people why any answer a chatbot gives is not enough and they need to ask a rabbi. And then the disclaimer that AI makes mistakes, ask a rabbi. And we were not even thinking what you just suggested, that it's important to create that personal relationship. We were thinking why halachically you should not be getting your answers from a chatbot. You should not.
Yeah.
But there's that other social aspect to it, which is so important. Selech harav, you need that personal connection to, and even beyond that, there's a chain of transmission of the Torah. We look to our Rebbe's like Moshe Rabbeinu. It goes back to Moshe Rabbeinu, and AI does not go back to Moshe Rabbeinu.
Yeah.
And so there's a whole. I hesitate to say this. It's two controversial things in one episode. I don't know if we can handle it. There was a Jewish atheist who was against intermarriage. I forget his name, and he said, "I'm not against the concept of intermarriage, but I don't want to be the last generation of Jews after all these generations before me." And there's something profound there, even though it's not religious at all. And I believe in a God and a Torah, and those are important to me. But there's something there, and I don't want to be the last generation.
It's a little like Pascal's wager over there, right? Like I don't really believe in God, but given the alternatives available to me, I don't want to end up down there if really there is a God, right? So that's kind of what he's saying.
Now that you say that, actually, there's a mabit in his Beis Elokim. Yeah, the largest part, the third section of Beis Elokim is all about the Yud Gimel Karei Emunah, the 13 principles of faith. And at one point he says that why do we keep Torah and mitzvahs? So most of the Rishonim give various reasons, God commanded and this and that, and then try to prove it. His proof is more the responsibility that we have to prior generations. They all kept the Torah, and how could we be the first generation not to keep the Torah?
Right.
And there's something there, something beautiful there. In addition to God commanded, and then Moshe kept the Torah. This is all true, but it's an additional dimension that I find so meaningful in today's world.
Yeah.
And I don't want us, our kids or us, to be the last generation or the second to last or the generation after people went to rabbis and had that chain of transmission. We can't cut that off. Chas v'sholom. Chas v'sholom.
I'm curious if on the app we have all these shiurim from Rabbi, Student, and so can you go in the app and say, please ask Rabbi Student the following question? Would it answer as Rabbi Student? Right? And maybe we should not allow it to do that, right? Because then that'll mean less potential talmidim who might reach out to you directly as a Rebbe.
So I didn't ask that on Rabbi Student, but I did ask it on other names, and it is not able to do that.
It's not. It can't answer as a certain Rebbe.
Correct.
Okay.
I wouldn't, like you said, I wouldn't want it to do that.
Yeah. It's
unfair to that rabbi. And it's unfair to the student. Reach out to me. Yeah. Email me.
Although there could be an interesting, how would the Rambam answer this question? Or there was after the Rav, Rabbi Soloveitchik Zatzal was nifter. A lot of people says, well, if the Rav was here, what would he say? Right? So I don't know if it's good now. The people could actually ask the AI what would he say. I don't know if the AI could actually answer that, but I imagine it could get us into all kinds of different conversations and maybe trouble if it came up with an answer.
One of the things I find myself saying too often, and I'm trying to stop, is Rabbi Hauer would have said, Rabbi Hauer, Olav Shalom, who we were very close to and we miss dearly. I shouldn't put words in his mouth, but I do think I have a feeling on certain things, at least my area, of what he would say.
Right.
But it's not right.
Yeah.
I should say he trained me, and this is what I think is right. And chas v'shalom to put words in the Rav's name. That's how mistakes are made, and how Bobameises get carried on, and people get confused.
I often do that. WWRHD. what would Rabbi Howard do, right? And I think about that often also. And we should give him some credit for this app, right? Without him, he was fundamental in getting us to move in this direction.
He brought the whole team together, and he was involved. He had a lot of cautions.
Yeah.
He was not go, go, go. He was,
Yeah.
let's think it through. Let's do it responsibly. Let's ask Shiloh's.
Yeah.
And we tried to do it in the most responsible way possible. Unfortunately, he was not here to see the final version, but he did see various versions, steps along the way.
Yeah.
And we have a responsibility to him and to his legacy to try to carry out what he wanted us to do and to do it in the best way possible. So hopefully we can make him proud.
Yeah. And one of the things somebody shared with me is that the AI, I don't know which one that they used, Claude, I think, can take a document and you can say to it, turn this document into a 10-minute podcast. So did we just do the opposite? Did we just take like a short document and turn it into like a long podcast? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we're helping the matter, but why do I bring that up? Because people learn in different ways. Going back to an earlier point, some people learn, like you said, writing things down. That's one of the ways I learned. Chazal learned by repeating things verbally. So some people learn better by listening to podcasts. I don't want to sit and read, right? I know some people who take podcasts and they transcribe them so they can read them. Sometimes that's because they're reading it on Shabbos, but sometimes it's just easier to scan than waiting for Josh Joseph to get the words out of his mouth. You can read it faster than Josh Joseph can say it, right? Even if you have 2x or 3x, or whatever it is. So I think one of the opportunities we can highlight that AI can provide is taking different current mediums and offering different ways to engage with them, that a visual learner will learn differently than an auditory learner, than somebody who's an experiential learner. And I think that is fantastic, especially when we think about Torah and we think about education. To be able to have those different opportunities is a great way that we could think about AI as a positive tool.
Giving access to wide variety of types of people to Torah. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So I want to thank you, Rabbi Dr. Josh Joseph, for coming on this podcast.
Thank you, Rabbi Student.
Very good. This is the spring 2026 issue of Jewish Action, Torah in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. Rabbi Joseph has an article in here, which is fantastic, and I encourage everybody to check this out, jewishaction.com. I just want to mention that we are changing how Jewish Action is delivered going forward. We are moving away from subscription to we are honoring anyone who's a current subscriber. We're honoring the subscription until it ends, but going forward you need to be a member of the OU to get it mailed to you. If you have any questions, just email us or call us from the website jewishaction.com. Not only do you invest in the OU and many of its great programs for not a lot of money, you also get 4 quality issues of Jewish Action in the mail every year. So that's just very important for our readers to know.
I want to thank you. I want to thank the whole Jewish Action team. Chama Carmel,
Racheli Eisenberg,
Racheli is here. Yeah. It's a wonderful journal. I get I get a lot of positive feedback about the OU wherever I go. And one of the things that always comes up is Jewish Action, and very appreciative of all the hard work that goes into it.
That's great. And Mr. Shem will continue for many years in the future doing amazing work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.